Trust me, this is the one and only way.
In today's video, I will be showing you the one and only way to mount a radar detector into your Cybertruck. There's a lot of detectors out there, there's a lot of mounts, but trust me, this is the only way to do it. But there are going to be a few things you need to purchase ahead of time. Obviously, your radar detector. Second, you're going to need this cool little mount that I get from Terrain Tunes. It's a user on Etsy. That's pretty cool. You're going to need some kind of a trim tool, a T20 Torx bit, and then you're going to need a hardwire kit, which I'll show you here in a second.
Make sure you need this little $13 hardwire kit I got from Amazon. Now, I did try a couple different ones, more expensive ones, but this cheap one totally does the trick, and it's really simple to use to get this installed.
Two things unique about this installation. One, we're going to remove this rearview mirror. If you know anything about the Cybertruck, this rearview mirror is basically useless because with your tonneau cover shut, you can't see anything out the back window, but it does give you a rearview mirror projector on your screen, so you don't really need this at all. Second is, using this little piece we got from Terrain Tunes, we're going to replace this and mount the detector to it itself. Hardwire kit we're going to use, we're going to not have to like fish a cord all the way down the truck or through the ceiling and back down. It's all going to be localized right there on the special mount. So let's start with the radar detector itself. To make it work with this mount, it does need to be an Escort brand or one similar. You'll see what I'm saying here in a minute. So when you buy this, it'll come with a couple things. It'll come with a cord, which you're not going to use the way we're going to hardwire it. Second, it's going to come with a little suction cup mount. Although we're not going to use the suction cup, we are going to use the base of this mount. You'll see here as I walk you through it.
So you can see once I've moved the suction cup from that bracket, I then take the special mount and mount that to the bracket, which is a simple nut and screw. Then it slides on and screws into place, and voila.
Next step is to remove the rearview mirror. There's really three kind of steps to this I'll walk you through. And by the way, I found this easier to do from the passenger seat because you didn't have the steering wheel to work over. First of all, there's a little piece of plastic here on the back side of the mirror you're going to have to pry out. I'm going to use a little flathead screwdriver and insert this in here. It's just going to pop this out. And I'm just going to pull this piece out just like so. There's a little Torx screw up in there. We're going to utilize this Torx wrench. And that's really going to be the only thing holding this into place. Next thing to do is to snap this plastic piece off. This is where I'm going to use my little trim tool. Keep in mind there is a camera and a lot of little tiny electrical wires in here, so be very careful as you pop this off. You're going to have clips about here and here in there that are just inside that plastic. So I recommend starting to pop it out way down here on the glass where you've got a little bit more spare room.
So just pop this piece of plastic loose, one side at a time, then you go ahead and pull it down. Now we're going to release the whole little plastic column above it. Just make sure your mirrors aren't stuck to it first. Once you have it open, you're going to locate this little white plastic harness. I found it easiest to remove that harness from the little plastic clips it was in by pulling it up and out first.
Hardwire kit's going to basically come with three separate wires. You're only going to use one of them. They're just sized differently based on what you're going to do. There's kind of like a large, medium, and small. I found I want to use the one that's with the smallest wires. What you're doing is inside that little wire harness, you're just meeting this metal in with it. You're not splicing into the wire itself. You're just kind of meeting it and pinching it in with the harness that's already in. You have two colors, a red and a black. Up top, you have two colors, a red and a brown. You're going to match red with red and black with the brown.
You're just sliding these wires down into the plastic harness with the other wire matching its correct color. It is important to make sure they're all the way pushed in tight and snugged up really good.
Now that I have the two wires pushed into place, I'm going to go ahead and plug in and make sure I actually make a good power connection before I put it all back together. This is where you're going to take your little wire here. You're just going to push it into your detector, and we're going to power it on to see if it comes on. You can see there, we've got power, which means we have a good connection. Now all that's left is putting it back together. Now the hardwire kit itself did come with a couple zip ties. I am going to use those.
There's not really a wrong way to do this. Just try to make it sure however you're doing it makes it the most secure. Make sure to snap that little white harness back into place before putting it all back. After zip tying, make sure to feed the cord that you're going to plug into the detector back out through the plastic. As you go to snap this back into place, double and triple check to make sure you don't have any of these small wires pinched in between the plastic and the glass. Then of course do the same to the center column. Now all it's left to do is to clip the detector up back onto the mount. I have found this easier to go ahead and pop it off the detector itself to put it back in. You're going to use that same Torx T20 screw that you pulled out of the mirror, you're going to reuse for this mount. There is a little slit in the mount that makes it very obvious and convenient for where you slide the wire through. Once that's through, go ahead and tighten the screw back in. Keep in mind not to over and tighten because it's just plastic. Then go ahead and magnetize your detector back to the mount and plug it back in. Then to keep it neat, I went ahead and zip tied the excess wire to the mount itself.
Well, hopefully by that video, you can now see this truly is the one and only way to mount the radar detector in your Cybertruck. Couple things to keep in mind. Make sure radar detectors are legal in your state. Here, when I'm at in Colorado, they're perfectly legal, but they may not be where you're at. Next, the power to this, it's kind of a cool thing because of how we hook this up, is you only have power basically when your car is on. When you walk away and shut it and your car goes to sleep, this will go off. If you return to your car, often just the opening of the door gives it power, but sometimes you have to actually put your foot on the brake to give it power. Lastly, please be aware, radar is not the only form of speed detection used today. For example, many police are using radar. This will not pick up radar, and if it does, you've already been clicked before it hits it. So don't use this as a free pass to go as fast as you want. It's just a cool little feature to have in your car.